Hey, LinkedIn. Great to see you. Another Wednesday afternoon. We're going to be talking about something today that is very important. Not the sexiest thing, not the most fun thing, not the trendiest thing, but something that's very important. There's a billion LinkedIn users out there. That means that 720 million of you are experiencing a mental illness, and 300 million of you are clinically depressed right now. We are going to talk about depression in entrepreneurship today. We're going to talk about what it is, what it isn't, some reasons why entrepreneurs have a much higher prevalence of depression than the general population. What are some of those unique contributing factors that boost that statistic, which is unfortunate for all of us? What are some things that you can do if you notice that you are feeling depressed and want to know more? How does depression manifest itself and show itself if you are an entrepreneur? And also, what can you do about it if you notice that you're feeling depressed, or to prevent it, or to help others? So, hey, LinkedIn, I'm Chris Schwagel. I am the CEO and founder of Infinite Skies. We help real estate syndicators raise more capital and close more deals with performance psychology. And generally, we're talking about the psychology of achievement, of success, all that kind of really fun, fancy stuff, growth mindset, overcoming procrastination. How can you be more vulnerable so that you can attract more capital naturally? Today, we're going to talk about some of the dark side here. Some of the same principles here of performance psychology, but this is talking about something that's much more prevalent, prominent, and unfortunately dangerous in entrepreneurship right now. So, we're going to be talking about depression in entrepreneurs. Now, generally, in the general population, about 1 in 10 people to about 1 in 5 people are experiencing clinical depression. Now, those numbers are anywhere from 2 to 3 times higher for entrepreneurs. And we'll discuss those reasons why later. But right now, I just want you to let that sink in. The fact that entrepreneurs are 2 to 3 times more likely to experience clinical depression than W 2 employees. And that's significant. It's especially significant because people die from depression. People take their lives quite often. In the United States, someone dies from suicide every 12 minutes. Worldwide, it's every 40 seconds someone dies from suicide. And this can be prevented. This could be me or you or a friend or a neighbor, a coworker, a partner in business. So we need to look out for each other. So that's why I'm doing this today. I don't expect to get any clients. I don't expect to boost my brand or thought leadership with this. I'm doing this because we're all in a community together. LinkedIn is a neighborhood and we're looking out for each other. And that's what we're doing here. We're looking out for ourselves and we're looking out for our neighbors. If you notice that someone is not showing up, seems down, please reach out. And we're going to go through exactly what you can do today. So, first of all, what the heck is depression? Now, in pop culture, you'll see on TV shows, movie, all that kind of stuff, people, oh, I'm so depressed. I'm so depressed. I'm so anxious. I'm so depressed. That's not depression. You can have a depressed mood. This is where you're feeling down or feeling sad, feeling apathetic. You don't want to do anything. That's a depressed mood for sure. But that does not mean that that person is experiencing clinical depression. In order to experience clinical depression, be diagnosed with depression, you have to meet, I think it's 5 out of 10 criteria in what's called the DSM-4 Diagnostic Statistical Model, which is just the Bible for psychiatric illnesses, essentially. So I'll break it down here just to make it a little bit easier. But these are symptoms that are lasting for 6 months or more, right? So it has to be 6 months or more. This just can't be some afternoon. And if it's happening for 1 month to 6 months, we don't call it depression, we call it adjustment disorder. So a lot of times therapists will see someone for adjustment disorder, and that's a really cool way that you can seek therapy in a way that you don't have a diagnosis label ongoing. Because clinical depression, major depressive disorder, or bipolar disorder, or postpartum depression, any of those other types of depression, is a SPMI, or severe persistent mental illness. And that diagnosis tends to stay on your record, which is a bummer for any sort of court rights or judicial rights, or sometimes gun ownership or weapon ownership. Sometimes it's with getting life insurance or health insurance. You'll get dinged if you have that diagnosis. So if you're experiencing these symptoms and want to be seen by a professional, ask for an adjustment disorder diagnosis, because that's a way that you can be seen, I think, for 3, sometimes 6 months without having any sort of clinical diagnosis. Okay, but sorry, I digress. Back to the clinical definition. So these are symptoms that last for 6 months or longer. And this is like a prevalent feeling of sadness, low motivation, lethargy, which is feeling lazy, not wanting to do anything. This could be weight gain, weight loss, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, recurring thoughts, rumination, as we call it, which is basically thinking of the same thing over and over, but not taking action on that thing. It also could be thinking about hurting yourself. It could be thinking about death or dying, whether you want to take your life or not. Generally, most people who experience depression just think about dying in the sense of ending the feelings that they're having, but not actually wanting to die. And so why is this higher amongst entrepreneurs? There are some contributing factors here. If you look through the symptoms, some of the symptoms get amplified with just basically being an entrepreneur. And those are really high stress. So if you add, a low mood or a predisposition for depression, and you add stress to that recipe, that really amplifies the symptoms quite a bit. Another one is, as entrepreneurs, we feel a lot of pressure. There's a lot of responsibility on us to get systems done, to get marketing done, sales, to get the bottom line. If you have employees, if you have client delivery, all these things fall on you, and that can be really, really pressured environment. Also, in the digital world, this is happening more and more and more, of isolation, people who are not connecting with other people. We do this, over coffee chats or masterminds, and all that kind of stuff is good, and it fills us up a little, but not very much compared to in-person meetings. So having a good environment, having social interaction is going to be really key when we get towards talking about how you can prevent depression. Next, there's a lot of financial risk and uncertainty that we are facing. We have no clue what's going on. And that is difficult to manage, not only psychologically, but also emotionally. And you're always solving problems like one after another. That's what you do as an entrepreneur. You solve problems. And sometimes that can get a little old. Last, a lot of times we identify personally with our businesses. I know I do. I come in here and I say, "Hey, I'm Chris Schwegel, CEO and founder of Infinite Skies." And we've got the tagline, the elevator speech. A lot of times it's really difficult to separate the business from the person. And that is a tough one for depression, because we have to have a different world, a different life, a different identity outside of our business. All right, I've got some more notes here. Next, we're going to talk about what are specifically some of the symptoms and some of the ways that the symptoms manifest differently in entrepreneurs versus the rest of the world. And so what you'll notice a lot of times, and this is from my experience, this is from my family members' experience, my clients' experience, friends, family, all that kind of stuff tied into one, which is why I jotted down notes. A lot of times when I do these lives, I just kind of go because I've been doing this for 19 years. But I wanted to do the very best job and the most descriptive job I could for you today so that you can have some stuff to take away and you can feel a personal connection too, which is why I jotted down notes and I'll be reading from them a little bit. So, first of all, symptoms: a lot of stress, but for a long time. Of course, we have stress. A lot of times, stress is what helps us. And navigating the wave of stress can be really helpful as an entrepreneur to achieve deadlines, to get the job done, to get rid of procrastination, to get rid of perfectionism. A lot of times we put a lot on our plates just to push the needle of our business. But when that heightened stress response is happening for a prolonged period, that really starts to mess with our chemicals in our body, specifically the dopamine, serotonin, cortisol. Chemicals all start interacting in ways that aren't healthy for us. And so we'll be experiencing more cortisol more of the time and less dopamine and less serotonin. And these are all neurochemicals. So they're chemicals that are in your brain. And, like serotonin is the one that makes you happy. Dopamine puts more attention and helps you focus. And cortisol causes stress. And what they see in fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imagery, basically brain scans, is that people who are stressed for a really long time have way more cortisol flooding their brains than they should have. And this isn't something where you just log off for the day and then your, you know, neurotransmitters go back to normal. No, this happens after prolonged rest. And so prolonged stress requires prolonged rest. But anyway, enough about stress. Also, a reluctance to take breaks. I see this a lot in my clients. I'll take a break after this capital raise, I'll take a break. But hey, along that capital raise, what do you know what happens? When times are good, more good times come to follow. So maybe you found that next deal. Maybe your project is taking longer than you anticipated. That happens. What we know about humans is that we misjudge time all the time. So we generally think something will take an hour to do. And research says that takes about 2.5 or 3 hours to do because of distractions, things that come up, and us just thinking that we're going to be overly engaged to get the project done in the first place. And so be careful with how you are taking breaks and when you're taking breaks. Make sure that you're taking breaks on the clock and not on project completion. That's important. Also, if you are neglecting your personal life, your relationships, your responsibilities at home, that could be a warning sign of depression. And last but not least here, I want to discuss like fluctuating productivity. And that goes hand in hand with neglecting your responsibilities at home. So if you feel like you are at home and you're having a tough time like chilling or like relaxing or shutting down, so that you're like, oh, I just need to get away from it all, and then you end up like taking a break for 3 days or 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, whatever, longer than you expected or wanted to or said you were going to. That's a warning sign. On the flip side, if you're having a tough time chilling, relaxing, hanging out with family, friends, whatever, and you have to get back to work all the time, that's also a problem. That's why time boundaries are so important. It's to keep you focused on what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be doing it and turned off when you're supposed to be turned off. This happens a lot with the chemicals in our brains that I was talking about earlier. You need to have some rest. You can't be watching a movie from your computer desk while also working on LinkedIn content while also taking sales calls. That doesn't work. That doesn't, your body doesn't think that that's rest. And so don't treat that as rest. What we try to do with my clients, what we aim for is being 95% on for 4 hours a day and being 60% on for 4 hours a day and then being completely shut off or at like 10 or 20% on the rest of the time. And so our brains really, really work well when we're revving our engines big time, super hyper focused. We're locked in, we're in flow state, we're in deep work. But we need to set a clock. For me, it's Alexa. Thank you, Alexa. Love you. No, okay, I turned her off ahead of time so she wouldn't talk. That's smart on my part. But anyways, getting back to it, make sure you take breaks with the clock, not with your projects. This can slip. I let this slip all the time. Even though I know this, I let it slip all the time. So I need to actually physically set alarm clocks. Next, you'll notice that you are avoiding business calls. You're avoiding networking. It just seems like a task. When you notice that the things in your life when you're in your business that are in your zone of genius and that becomes a to-do list, that's a warning sign. When you're working longer hours than normal, or where you're working irregular hours, you're waking up in the middle of the night to work, warning sign. If you're noticing a lot of mood swings, and what does that look like? Maybe you're crying more often. Maybe you are angrier more often, feeling sad more often. Maybe you're feeling silly or really gleeful unexpectedly. These are mood warning signs. And last, I want to touch on what someone said here in an email was it affects their business decisions. So if you are feeling like reluctant to make any sort of decisions because you want to just chill and not do anything at all, that's a warning sign. That's a symptom of depression in entrepreneurs. Now, when you notice symptoms, what the heck should you do about it? First and foremost, notice it. Stop. Pause. Second, say it out loud. Bonus points, say it out loud to somebody else. Because shame starts to build up when we feel like we should be doing more. Hey, I'm the boss. I'm the CEO. I should be all in on this. Hey, I should be working more hours. I should be writing the big checks. I should be good at sales and marketing and LinkedIn responding and automation and operations. I should be good at all those things. I need to be good at all those things. Putting a lot of pressure on yourself is a surefire way to cause depression. And what you have to do is you have to say these things out loud to someone else. Please don't feel ashamed. We all want to help. We've all either been there before or know someone who's been there before. Unfortunately, in 2024, it's rare that you meet someone who has not lost a very close person to suicide. And when that happens, it's unfortunate, but opens your eyes to the fact that you need to take care of yourself on another level. This stuff is no joke. You need to look out for your neighbors, look out for your partners, your LinkedIn friends, collaborators, the people you're connected to, the people who you check out their profile, the people who you comment on their page every single day. Look out for them and talk to them when you need help. We are all on LinkedIn, all 1 billion of us, because we want to help. But I wonder which percentage of us actually reach out for help when we need it. So acknowledge it, say it out loud, say it out loud to somebody else. Shame cannot survive the spoken word. Depression can, but it really, really, really takes the armor down. And so start talking about it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be feeling guilty about or embarrassed about. Say it. Say it out loud. And next, what you need to do is access some resources for yourself. So get yourself in a community of people who can speak freely. Get around people in real life. Get professional help. Talk to a licensed counselor, psychologist, therapist, whatever you want to call it. Talk to those people. There's a ton of help out there. A lot of it is free. You'll find Hotlines are free. You'll find that most therapy can be on a sliding fee scale or free. I volunteered at a therapy clinic called Open Door in Minneapolis, and you can just walk in. You can just walk in. It was a free clinic. And we saw about half the people we saw were people who just came in out of the streets and just wanted someone to talk to. People who were either addicts or living with schizophrenia, living with bipolar disorder or various types of depression, were anxious. They wanted someone to talk to. The other 50% of the clientele, you might be surprised to know, came in suits because they wanted someone to talk about in a discreet manner. Now, this is a free clinic that people with money to pay for therapy could have if they chose to, but they wanted it to be discreet. And so they went to the free clinic. Find the free clinic in your neck of the woods. Call them up. Say, hey, I'm Chris. If I were to walk in, what would the experience be like? If I were to have an appointment with you, what would the process be like? If I were to have an appointment with you, how much would that cost me out of pocket? Who would need to know about this? Start asking questions hypothetically. If I were to call, what would it be like? This is an old therapist like tricks right now, is to imagine what it would be like if you were to access those resources. Pretend and go through it. Pretend to dial the number. Put the number into your phone. Write down right now who are 3 people that you can contact and let them know anything about you, and they'll have your back. This is important stuff to take care of now before you need it. So, how can you, if you're feeling depressed, reach out? Say it out loud. If you don't know or you're concerned about your mental health, what are ways that you can prevent depression from happening? What are some ways that you can solidify your mental health? Get rid of burnout. That's great. I work with clients with this all the time, and I can speak about this a lot. And as an entrepreneur myself, I go through this roller coaster all the time too. And sometimes I'm good at this stuff, and sometimes I'm terrible at this stuff. And sometimes I don't want to say it out loud. Sometimes I say it out loud and I feel great. Sometimes I say it out loud and I need to do more. And so please find some resources that you can use to help you along the way, because this is all a long game. We are burning bright. We are not burning out. So first, you've got to take care of your body. And this is, we all know this stuff from grade school, but it's a good reminder. It all starts with your body. You don't have a business without a body. You don't have any sort of strategic planning meeting without a healthy mind. So remember to eat healthy. Remember to eat nutritious foods. Remember to eat in a regular schedule. Remember to get some exercise. That's a great way to get rid of cortisol and to start to get some more serotonin and dopamines into your bloodstream, is do some exercise. How do you know what's right? How do you know what's enough? You'll know when you're sweating. Sweat is a fantastic antidepressant. In fact, it's better than any sort of antidepressant that you get in any pharmacy. Exercise will beat all clinical trials for every single drug on the market right now. So go out and get yourself some exercise. Also, make sure that you're getting a lot of sleep. I take that back. Make sure you're getting the right amount of sleep. Perfect amount of sleep is 5 sleep cycles in a night. A sleep cycle is an hour and a half. So go ahead and get yourself 7.5 hours of sleep every night. Most people think of it as 8 hours of sleep. That's great, because usually it takes about a half hour to fall asleep. And then it'll be 5 sleep cycles later. That's 8 hours. If you have to fudge, you can do this 1 day in a row, but not 2. You can go down to 4 sleep cycles. Do not, under any circumstances, wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle. You will feel groggy. This is a big tip. Wake up at the end of a sleep cycle. Plan it out. If you can't make it that sleep cycle, stay up a little later. Stay up another half hour, whatever it needs to be. But remember, get 5 a day. If you have to, get only 4 sleep cycles. That's fine, but you can only do that 1 day in a row. Because what you start to lose on the second day, third day, fourth day is emotional regulation. So your emotions are going to be all over the place. You start to eat less nutritiously. You'll notice that you are angrier. You notice that you connect with other people less. You notice that you enjoy nature less. You're less grateful. You have less creative ideas. Your brain starts to deteriorate when you don't get enough sleep. So please get 5 sleep cycles a night. If you have to, get 4. Next, make very healthy choices with your environment. Clean up things around you so that things seem minimal. Make sure that things are clean to the eyes, and make sure that you are getting enough sun. I live in Minnesota, so we get vitamin D about 7 months out of the year. We're starting to get it now again. Man, I have noticed a change in my mood. I've noticed a change in my neighbors and the clients I'm working with. I have some clients out in Colorado, Canada, other places. When people are starting to get more sun, they feel better. If you can't get that sun, please, please, please get one of those like happy lights, glow lights, something like that. You've got to get that vitamin D in you. You can also take medication that has vitamin D, but it's way, way more efficient to get it from sunlight. Also, you want to take care of your environment socially. I love the research that's coming out lately about how being lonely is like smoking like a pack and a half of cigarettes a day in terms of lowering your life expectancy. You have to get around people you like. You have to get around people you like. If it's online, great. If it's in real life, IRL, even better. Get around people you like. And bonus tip, like advanced tip, synergize. Synergize these things. So maybe you want to like meet up with friends for pickleball. Maybe you want to go play tennis with some people. You're going to do a round of golf with a business partner. Start to combine some of these really good environmental things in lifestyle things so that you can start to get all of them at once. Your business turns into your life. Your life integrates with your business. It happens negatively. You can turn it on its head and do it for positive reasons too. And last, I want to just say, get regular mental health checkups. What the heck is a regular mental health checkup? Talk to your primary care doctor. Ask them to fill out forms. See if you're depressed. See if you're anxious. The doctor will have a very quick, normally it's a 9-question form to see if you are meeting criteria for adjustment disorder or depression. They'll have a 12-point just check yes or no assessment just to see how you're doing with anxiety. Ask for those things. I know that it's easier not to. Trust me. When I was first diagnosed with kidney disease, I didn't go to the doctor. Doctor had to call my wife for me to go. Even though I had promised myself I would always go to the doctor, I avoided it. It's a defense mechanism, right? We don't want to go. We don't want to get bad news, so we just don't. But please ask for it because trust me, your life will be worse if you don't ask for it. So to wrap up here, depression is very, very prevalent in entrepreneurs, about 2.5 to 3 times greater than the general population. Why? Because we are under a lot of stress. We really interlace our livelihood in our personal lives a lot. We feel a lot of pressure and there's a lot of uncertainty. We have a ton of stress, and you mix all that together with a normal American life or wherever you're from, you're going to get more depression. Remember, depression is a clinical term that is a label for a set of symptoms that are happening for 6 months or longer. It is not something to feel guilty about. It is not something that is your poor morals. It is not anything that you've done wrong. It just is. There's a large, large genetic factor involved here. And so some people who do everything wrong won't ever feel the symptoms of depression, while other people who do everything right will feel clinically depressed and not want to leave their bed for months. Genetics plays a huge role in here, so do not beat yourself up about this. Unfortunately, I'm guessing if you are experiencing depression, you're already beating yourself up enough. So please don't let me add any more fuel to that fire. Now, what are some ways that you can help yourself if you are experiencing depression? Go see a doctor, see professionals, seek out hotlines, call free clinics near you to see what it would be like to work with them. Seek help. Say it out loud. Say it out loud to people who love you. As a therapist, I've often told my clients that I get paid to keep your secrets. Tell someone who will keep it a secret. Trust me, you'll feel better. And last, what can you do to help prevent the effects of depression? Make sure that you are clocking hours at a regular time and make sure that you're not fudging it too much. Of course, we always have to a bit, but be mindful of that. As much stress as you add, you need to replace it with rest to get your chemicals in your brain back to normal. Surround yourself with a healthy environment, both physically, pleasing to the eye, get outside, get around nature, and socially. Make sure that you're around people who love you and people who you like. Having some laughs really is a good medicine. So I hope that this was helpful for you to learn about depression that may be happening with you or depression that you may see in someone else. Or if anything, you're armed now with knowledge and steps to do stuff to help out if you need that. So I'm always available. If you have any questions, you can always DM me. I'm always happy to help. Unfortunately, I need two hands to count the number of people in my life I've lost to suicide. So I always have time to talk to people who need it. So take care of yourself, take care of others. I'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.